Hello Europe and welcome to Europe Today. I'm Ralph Andrews.
And I'm Jerome Gilbert.
Welcome to our special episode of Exploration and Worldwide Trade.
First, we will be starting with Portugal. Cabral, a Portuguese explorer, claimed Brazil for Portugal in 1500. Settlers in Brazil grew cash crops. Cash crops are grown in large amounts to be sold for profit. Around this time, the Netherlands also won their independence from Spain.
Europeans established trading posts in both Asia and North America. Spain settled a colony in the Philippines. By the 1600s, Spain's empire had grown into North and South America. Spain had also been the first empire to establish colonies. Spain and Portugal developed a treaty.
The Treaty of Tordesillas was a deal to split the Americas between Spain and Portugal.
The Netherlands, France, and England soon joined the treaty.
Spanish rulers sent royal officials called viceroys to govern local areas.
Spanish rulers had two goals for the colonies of their empire: to bring back wealth and to convert natives to Christianity. Christianity was the major religion that most of Europe was trying to spread. In the early 1600s, England started to settle in the Americas. The government wanted the natural resources.
Groups of merchants settled in new land for trade while others sought religious freedom. In 1606, a group of merchants and founders founded the Virginia Company.
The Virginia Company made the first permanent English settlement in 1607. It was Virginia.
Inside of Virginia, Jamestown was settled. They named it after King James I.
Everyone died. There wasn't enough food, so everyone starved to death.
Hey there, do you want to buy some tobacco? Well, thanks to America, now it's cash crop and there's enough for everybody. Come to my store, Tyrone's Tobacco Stop, 12% off your first purchase.
They found that tobacco grew very well in Virginia. Tobacco became the first English cash crop.
Now moving on to the French. The French hoped they would become wealthy if they set up fur trading posts. In 1608, French merchants hired Samuel de Champlain.
He was hired to help the French obtain furs in New France, which is now much of eastern Canada. Some of the furs look like this.
He set up fur trading posts in Quebec, which is now the capital of Canada.
In the 1600s, the French king sent out political and military officials to rule New France.
Jesuits and other Catholic missionaries also arrived. They taught Christianity to the Native Americans. The natives called the Jesuits black robes because of the black clothes they wore.
European merchants in the 1600s believed that artisans and guilds were too expensive and didn't work fast enough. Their cottage business was born out of this belief.
The merchants hired peasants to make goods in their homes, specifically wool cloth. This was called the cottage industry because of the homes the peasants lived in were called cottages.
Also at this time, European trading voyages became much more expensive. To deal with this lack of money, the commercial revolution created commerce. Commerce is an exchange of goods in large quantities over large distances. It needed a lot of money to be successful, so a new kind of business person emerged.
They were called entrepreneurs. Their job was to invest in a project or voyage. Their goal was to profit off the project. Trade increased in the 1600s for Europe, and the expensive became too expensive for just one entrepreneur to pay for.
Joint stock companies were made to fund these voyages. This is when many people could buy stocks or shares in the success of the project to fund it. If one entrepreneur was to pay for a voyage, they would lose everything because it became too expensive.
Have you ever wanted to invest in a company but not risk your money? Well, now you can get a couple of friends and invest smaller amounts for split profit. It's a win-win. What can go wrong? Invest today.
Another new business of this time was the Columbian Exchange. This was the global exchange of goods. It was named after the famous explorer Christopher Columbus. This exchange didn't only trade goods, it also spread culture, technology, and diseases.
Europeans were introduced to new foods that came from the Americas by merchants. Two of these became essential to European life, potatoes and corn. These two became a daily food for Europeans. Native Americans introduced squash, beans, and tomatoes as well. Tomatoes grew gratefully and influenced Italy, where they started to make tomato sauces.
Europeans made the first candy by mixing chocolate, a popular Central American food, with sugar. Americans started to plant European and Asian grains on American soil. Wheat, oats, barley, rye, and rice were the most common grains. Coffee and bananas were also brought to the Americas to be grown in Central and South America.
In the 1600s, European countries were competing for power and land. The golden age of the Netherlands was this time. The Dutch thought that trade was central to their survival and would make their empire more powerful. This was the dawning of mercantilism. Mercantilism is the idea of possession of gold and silver are what determined how much power a country had.
Another mercantilist idea was that a country must sell more than it buys. This theory claimed that countries should have colonies. A colony is a settlement of people living overseas on land owned by their home country. Colonists ship materials that are present in the new land which are not found in their homeland. These raw materials are used to make goods for the homeland with the purpose of not importing them from other countries.
English and French merchants traded with people of India. In 1619, the Dutch built a colony on Java, an island which is now part of Indonesia. They were so successful that they took over the spice trade from the Portuguese.
Dutch trade ships were superior to other European trade ships. Dutch ships could carry more and didn't require as many crew members. These ships sailed to South Africa, to the islands of Southeast Asia, and finally to North America. Henry Hudson, an English navigator, seized land along the Atlantic coast of North America for the Dutch. They started to establish settlements in the Americas in 1621. They had one settlement on what is now Manhattan Island called New Amsterdam.
I'm sure they would appreciate
At the same time, Europeans dominated Arabs and Indians with their ships and guns. They were also forcing other Asian governments into trade. The European influenced the Japanese to make very powerful shotguns and cannons. They started to win against all their enemies with these new weapons. They won against the feudal lords in Daimyo to reunite Japan.
Daimyo were the great feudal lords of Japan. They are higher than some lords, but lower than the shogun or high-ranking general.
In 1673, explorers Jacques Marquet and Louis Joliet reached the Mississippi River. Just 9 years later, the French explorer La Salle traveled to the Gulf of Mexico. He named this area Louisiana after King Louis XIV, the King of France.
South Carolina began to grow rice and indigo, and they started to grow sugarcane on the Caribbean islands, especially Domingo.
The Spanish used plantations or large farms that enslaved people or hired workers to grow and harvest these crops. Natives were the first slaves, but European diseases killed millions of them, so Africans were brought over as well.
Slave trade became a very common trade.
Well, that wraps up our special episode. We hope you learned something and enjoyed it.
That's all, folks.
See you next time. The Treaty of Tordesillas split the Americas. Viceroy sent out to govern the areas. Christianity spread much like malaria, creating ultimate religious hysteria. Jesuits roll out flexing robes of black, do as they say, as they offer no slack. Bananas grew all over the plantation, enough to feed the entire damn nation. The Spanish came in and made natives ill. Cabral the explorer went in and claimed Brazil. Mad cash crops grown in and sold by well. Quebec was discovered by a man named Champlain. He created fur trading posts. Many complained.